Thank you, everyone, for being here. First and foremost, I'll thank Walker for putting this on. It's really exciting to be here and exciting to see this come to life and to see this vision realized. I know it's late on a Wednesday, but they saved the best for second last today, so thank you guys for being here. We're going to talk a little bit about bridging the gap between data and action, the missing link in your UNS strategy. This will be a little bit of a different conversation than what you've seen so far today, but hopefully by the end of it, it'll all start to come together and make sense as to why we're here. Quick show of hands, I want to get a sense of where you are in your digital journey. How many folks in here are currently tracking OEE? Awesome. Now, if you have, I've got permission from Walker on this. If you have an OEE over 80%, raise your hand and Walker is going to give you $100,000. Yeah, it's tough, right? We're trying to figure out, we've got a lot of really smart technology, a lot of really smart folks here, and we're still facing some of the same challenges that we've been facing for years. And it's not for lack of effort, not for lack of money and attempts. One of the things that was really exciting for me was a couple years ago I got to meet Walker for the first time, and a lot of you are probably familiar with his automation stack. And I challenged him. I said, this stack is wrong. And I know this is something that a lot of you really ascribe to. But if you were to realize this full stack in your operations, and I understand very, very few people out there, if any, have actually set this up and got all 6 levels working. The best you're going to have is a beautiful dashboard that can't turn a wrench or fix a machine. It's missing a work execution component as it relates to maintenance. Because all of these insights that you're generating, the question I want to posit to you all is, where do they go? How do they get converted to action? If you take one takeaway away from this conference this week, I really want you to think about how are we turning these insights into action. We believe work execution, consuming from the UNS, is the biggest untapped opportunity in digital transformation. What does that mean? Really 2 parts. First one is enriching your UNS with contextual data from your maintenance system. Second is converting those insights to action. So where are we going with this, right? A little bit about MaintainX first. Our mission is to equip frontline maintenance teams and professionals with modern tools that streamline maintenance, maximize equipment uptime, and drive operational excellence across physical asset-driven industries. A lot of folks think of us as an enterprise-grade EAM and CMMS, which is Enterprise Asset Management System, or computerized maintenance management system, for those who may not be familiar with the acronyms. And we have built the world's best platform to help frontline teams do the work that keeps our world running. And a few ways that we've done that is through a mobile-first platform, because the folks that are doing the work are not sitting behind a desk. Through dynamic configurable workflows, global parts inventory management, streamlined dashboards and KPI tracking, and detailed asset performance history. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about why MaintainX works and why we're being used by over 10,000 companies today to run their operations. We're simple. We're really easy to use for the frontline folks. If there's a learning curve, they're not going to adopt it. And if you don't get adoption, then you're back at square one. We're mobile and API MQTT always. We want to be extensible and connect to your entire technology stack to help ensure that this is a single pane of glass that they need to get the information to do the work that needs to be done in your operation. And third, and most importantly, we build with our customers. We aren't sitting in an ivory tower trying to guess what needs to be built. We actually work closely with our customers in partnership to make sure that we're building the things that are going to help them do their jobs better. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the hidden costs of this limited visibility when your maintenance is left out of the production data, which I know I've spoken with quite a few of you here today and over the past 2 days. And a lot of you are kind of wondering, like, why is there a maintenance app here? We're not in reliability. This isn't relevant to me. But everything you're doing is something that is putting data together that could inform and help your maintenance operations and your reliability teams accomplish the same goals. But today, without that visibility, you have inefficient maintenance scheduling. You have contextual tribal knowledge that's never getting published to a digital thread. You're reactive rather than proactive. And you're not able to make data-driven decisions and identify root causes. So the challenge here is contextual work execution. Taking that, we have problems right now with complexity. There's too many disconnected systems. There's high training requirements, poor user adoption, notification and app fatigue. Even if you got these systems working great in a UNS, there's still a lot of information coming from systems that aren't designed for those end manufacturing maintenance technicians, excuse me. And then you've got data issues. You're getting delayed information, you have incomplete data, you're not getting contextual work information from the field and the front line. You're not getting them the work instructions that they need and standardizing those across your operation. And you have lack of actionable insights with endpoints. So this is where MaintainX comes in. We believe we're the missing link in UNS. So without execution, a UNS is a data repository. Work execution operationalizes those data-driven insights. We help you unlock those siloed operational data. We help you better understand and act on the condition of your assets. Help you detect anomalies and derive insights from this historical data. We're going to reduce notification fatigue with actionable endpoints. And most importantly, we're going to help you develop more efficient maintenance plans, improve asset availability, and drive down business costs by implementing condition-based and predictive maintenance models. So the solution here is connecting standardized data structures into action. So our new approach to Industry 4.0, we're bridging the three key elements: your connected machine insights, you're empowering your frontline teams, and we're helping you move towards data-driven optimization. I'm excited to show you guys how we're doing that today. Now, manufacturers should track machine state through both manually and automatically from the edge. You're getting all this great data from your PLCs and your sensors to provide real-time insights into your machine status, but it's not telling you the whole story. And maybe some of your most modern equipment, they give you more advanced signals. But most of you are working off of equipment that's 30, 40, 50 years old, and your machine state is on or off. How are you contextualizing and enriching that information to make sure that you can actually get to the bottom of root cause analysis? If a machine's down for a couple of days because you don't have a part on the shelf and you can't get one, that's not the same as it being down, for actual reliability reasons that are unrelated to that, right? So you need that manual enrichment where the technicians and operators can come in and use MaintainX to update that machine status with the appropriate classifications and tags. So we'll talk about the power of real-time machine state and how we're going to help you unlock efficiency and reliability in manufacturing. So machines are automatically reporting their state using data from their PLCs, the sensors, and other systems that are providing real-time insights. But now the operator can also manually report state changes using MaintainX's mobile app. Next, MaintainX will ingest that data from either source and provide a comprehensive prescriptive solution for tracking machine status and updating the work instructions accordingly. So once completed, the work execution data contextualizes the event and enriches the UNS. And now I want to pass this off to Alex to give you a brief sort of overview of how we think about this architecture today.
Awesome, thanks Nick. So MaintainX can stand as a standalone application, so we'll show you today, both on mobile and web, kind of how you can interact with MaintainX. But when we talk about integrating in with the UNS, the architecture you see up on screen is kind of high level what we're looking at. So we do have an on-premise agent that will connect into the MQTT broker and can pull in insights or sensor data into MaintainX, and we can use that to drive maintenance schedules, trigger work orders, update asset status. So that all happens through our automations backend and our automation engine. And then driving all of that to give more insights into what needs to be done and where. And our co-pilot that sits on top of that gives the power to the technicians to actually understand what needs to be done when they're troubleshooting something.
Awesome. So let's talk about the value of MaintainX and UNS. So how is MaintainX helping our customers today? We're helping reduce equipment downtime by 30%. We're improving OEE by over 39% and improving your planned maintenance percentage by 49%. The benefits of enabling a system like this go beyond just asset reliability and availability. It's about helping make your team more efficient, helping make sure that they're safer and more effective overall. So as you think about this evolution of maintenance models, this is sort of to understand, give a little bit of context to folks who maybe aren't reliability experts yet. We've got reactive, which is that firefighting mode. Everybody's there today. Most folks are really in that stage right now. As we move towards preventive and ultimately condition-based monitoring, this is where UNS starts to really come into play. Because we all know there's more to preventive maintenance than just doing time-based maintenance. You need to be monitoring runtime hours. You need to be monitoring machine states and cycle times. And this is where the UNS can provide immediate impact and value to your reliability teams today. And as we continue to go down this path and this journey, we're able to move to a world where we're able to actually get into predictive maintenance and get towards a world where we have zero unplanned downtime. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the MaintainX way. This is something that's a little bit different, the way we think about CMMS a little bit differently than others. Most of you are somewhat familiar with this would be somewhat familiar with the concept of asset intelligence. This is the idea that we're trying to understand our machines, trying to be smarter and optimize them, and that's sort of the premise of a lot of the technology that's here at the event today. But the piece that we think is really important and often left out of the conversation is the work intelligence. How do we help make sure that the folks that are working on this equipment are able to do things as efficiently and safely as possible? How do we make sure that we capture that tribal knowledge, digitize it, and leverage tools like AI to improve and find improve operational efficiency across the board? So to give you a little bit of context, like how we think about asset intelligence, this is the condition monitoring, the predictive maintenance, the unified data platform, and in your prescriptive maintenance. Unlike unifying your disparate data sources to help kind of enable maintenance teams to take action intelligently. Work intelligence is the area you're probably less familiar with. This is where the strategy comes into play, and the execution, the reporting and the planning. This is where you're going to understand how should we actually leverage the limited resources, the limited skilled labor, the folks that we have on the floor to make the most use of their time. Do you have level 3 technicians going around and monitoring lubrication points? Do you have folks that are overly qualified for the work that they're spending their time on? Do you even know what they're doing? Do you have that tracked? These are the sort of things that we want to help open your eyes to the opportunity and the potential of what happens when you can work with the bring your UNS data and merge it with your asset management system. And so now I want to have Alex give you a quick run through of how MaintainX works, and we'll go from there.
Awesome, thanks Nick. So where I'll start today is we're going to be on the mobile app, so kind of putting ourselves in the shoes of a technician who's received an alert from another system and is starting to take action on it. So I'm running the MaintainX app here today on an iPad. I've got a couple work orders that are assigned to me. I can see which ones are high priority or maybe overdue. I'm going to take this 2,500 hour press PM and kind of walk you through what that looks like and cover a few different features in MaintainX. So I can see here already this has been moved to in progress. I can see due date, assigned information. So I start to get a bit more idea of what needs to be done and how. And if I start to actually dive into this, maybe before I start work, first thing I'll start the timer on the bottom. So that's actually tracking how long I'm working on this PM. Maybe I want a bit more information on the piece of equipment that I'm looking into. So I clicked in here, I can see my press and different details about that. I can see the work order history, so the last time that somebody did work on this piece of equipment, what they did, how they completed it. But then going back to kind of the core of this work order, we have what are called procedures. So think of this like your standard operating procedure, your work execution list. And this one here, you'll see it's only one step right now. So before I even start doing any work, before I know what needs to be done, I need to confirm that I've done my lockout tagout. So I'm making sure that I'm performing this work in a safe manner. And then you'll see the rest of the information comes along. We can require a picture or a signature for these different fields before you actually progress. So I can now go in and start to see more information of what exactly I need to do. So as I'm going through and doing my checks, it's as simple as clicking on the pass here. I can again add a photo or notes onto what I've done. Then I can go through and actually complete the different steps of my work. So fairly simple for maintenance technicians to get assigned these work instructions from different insights that are generated either through the UNS or it can be more of a calendar-based PM. Let's say though that I get assigned something and it doesn't have these work instructions. I don't know exactly what needs to be done. So I'll show you a little bit what our Copilot can do. So we have asset manuals that are linked into this equipment, and I can actually, from a mobile device, query into those maintenance manuals and start to get some work instructions. So I pre-prompted it here with how to troubleshoot a vibration issue. So it pulled from the maintenance manual a few steps. I can use that to generate the procedure. That's actually what I did on another example here. But if I want more details than that, I can actually click in to see where in the manual this is pulling that information. So it's not making anything up. It won't hesitate to say, I don't know. But if I want to dive in and see the actual maintenance procedure with diagrams and all the other details, that's just a click away from your maintenance technicians. Nice. One thing that's great about this too, as you're going through those procedures, it will keep in context what you're doing and where you are in the procedure. So you can prompt it simply, how do I do this? And it knows what step in the procedure you're at, and will kind of give you more context on that. So happy to kind of walk you guys through that more at our booth and kind of show you what Copilot looks like, but it's pretty awesome. So from here, a few other things I can do. I'm tracking my time already. I can see if there's some parts allocated to this. If I need to take out other parts to complete my work, I can do that from the mobile device. I can scan a QR code in the parts room, go along with my work. I can leave comments, track status of what's been done. So you'll see this one's actually started, open and closed a few times throughout today. But let's call that basically done, and I'll close out this work order. It's prompting me here because I didn't actually complete the whole procedure. I'll go ahead and say I'm done. So it's done a few things for me behind the scenes. It logged my time. It's now prompting me, since this asset was offline, if my maintenance brought it back online. So I'll go ahead, I'll say yes. I'll say this press is running. I can add additional notes. So I'll just say here, all good. And I can update that. So that's kind of that enrichment side to asset status. That asset status, that offline, is actually coming from the virtual factory. So I guess the machine is actually offline right now, but I just brought it back online. So that's essentially what I wanted to show you on the mobile side of things. We'll now flip over to the web, and we can go a bit more through how we get this information and how we actually generate those insights.
This is the record scratch moment where, how did it all come together?
So real quick, I just want to say something. I've gotten a lot of questions about, hey, why is MaintainX the only CMMS here at the show? I assure you they weren't the only one who asked to be here, but they were the only one who met the minimum technical requirements. So that's number one. They had to be able to connect to the infrastructure, consume, and produce. And Infor was the only one that even came relatively close. You can do that, like build a connector through their REST API. But MaintainX does it natively, but there's a bigger issue here, and I was telling this to Nick earlier. I don't mean to sidetrack you, but it's really important. In digital transformation, there are two KPIs in maintenance that matter, and they're really the only two that matter. It's not utilization as much as you probably think it is, and it isn't actually availability, although availability is incredibly important. The two that are the most important are mean time to repair and mean time between failure. They're the two KPIs that tell you everything about your assets. And most people only have the skyline for mean time to repair and mean time between failure of 3 events. So the rising event is when a work order is created, and then there's a rising event when the work order is accepted, and then there's a falling event of the work order being closed, and that's it. That's all you have within the CMMS scope. But what's most important for driving the two things that you want to do with maintenance, which is I want to optimize preventative maintenance, so we're never doing a PM when we don't need to do a PM, number one. And number two, we want to predict the next break fix. We don't want to react to the break fix. We actually need 9 events to track that, and the first event is the one that comes off the machine, which was the indicator that we had some issue. MaintainX is the only CMMS that can pick up all 9 events. So without having to build some application that's going to be able to pick all those 9 events up so that we can accurately improve your preventative maintenance program using ML or AI, or predict break fixes, they're really the only platform, honestly. And then the second piece is Nick's leadership. I mean, he knows what he's doing. They've come to our office. I mean, I was hard on him. I mean, I threw bombs at him in our office, and they passed with flying colors. So that's why they're here. It's really important to understand that. But I have worked very hard to try and find another CMMS that I'd be working with right now, and there isn't one. That's why there's only one CMMS here. The only one who passed. Oh, and documentation. Okay. You're right. It's a good point. But anyway, sorry. Thank you. It was important that the audience hears why it is there's only one CMMS here, because that question's come a dozen times.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks so much, Walker.
Yeah.
And yeah. Let's show you guys how it works on the back end. You know how all of that happened, how all that magic happened on the mobile side.
Awesome. So I'm in what we call our asset control center right now. So I'm on press 103. I can see the history of asset status. So that's actually something we're pulling out of the virtual factory and updating that. So I'll show you the automations of how we're doing that. You'll also see those manual updates that I made just as I brought that asset back online. We also have down here any of the other metrics or topics that are coming through the UNS. So if I want to dive in and see more details on this particular meter, we call them meters in MaintainX, but that's basically coming right out of the virtual factory.
And that's the first event. They're tracking the thing that would be the first event, and that's rare.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you're the only one doing it. So.
I think so. So once we have these meters in, they're visible to the technicians, to anybody in MaintainX. But I think the real power comes when we start to use them for those automations. So the asset status I just showed you before, we have different automations that are running as the machine state coming out of the virtual factory goes from on to off. But we can also start to trigger other events off of that. So if we have a vibration that goes above a certain threshold, we can use this to create a work order. And then that's essentially the work order that I was actioning here on the iPad earlier. So there's a lot that we can start to do and trigger based on different information that we're getting out of the UNS. So that's kind of how we're consuming data from the UNS to trigger those insights or those work instructions. So what I'll go through now is kind of showing you the back end of how we actually set that up. So here under my profile, I can go into our integrations tab, and we have these different connectors. So we've got this MQTT connector that I'll go through and manage. We're connecting actually right now to 3 different brokers. This last one here, the ProveIt balancer, is what we're connecting to here on site. So anything that's being published through Sparkplug-B, we're picking up automatically as a sensor. So those sensors we can then map into meters and use to drive the automations. So what we're gonna do, Mathieu's gonna help me here a little bit. We've got a brand new instance, a completely empty instance of MaintainX. We've done a little pre-configuration just to speed the demo up here, but you'll see it's waiting for connection. So if I actually go in here, I'll see that there's no sensors. There's nothing that's coming in. So right now, Mathieu's starting our Docker container for our on-premise agent. It's going to connect into the broker, the same live broker, and we'll see the sensors come in. So just while he's doing that, I'll show you the information that we're contributing back into the UNS. So in addition to pulling those meter points in, anything that we're creating or generating in the system is coming back into the UNS. And it looks like I might have gone stale here. So if I start to drive in, I can see all of our different areas, the different assets inside of that. So I've got my different presses. I can view the asset status of those presses that are being created. And my work order disappeared, so let me just create a quick work order here. We'll do a press PM on press 103. And you'll see as I create that work order, it's being published back into the UNS as well. So we can see all the information of the work order, the status of that work order. So as I move this work order to in progress, you'll see those updates coming through as well. So if you wanted to pull this into an HMI, into your ignition screen, that's all available through MQTT here. And we can also publish back. So just as an example, I'm publishing to a topic here for a new work request. That's another concept we have in MaintainX. So I can actually request work in MaintainX, and I believe that's right here. So I've now requested work back into MaintainX. Our maintenance team can then decide if they want to approve or decline that and turn it into a work order. So let's see here, if I just give this a refresh, we should see that that connection is now live. So I do see the one connected device, and we've got 82 sensors that are pulling through Sparkplug-B right now.
Yeah, and that's a pretty powerful feature. So for those of you that were basically at a fireside chat yesterday, you might have heard some of the key points about Sparkplug being the fact that it's providing a certain structure to your topics. And that is essentially a demonstration of the power that brings, that structure is bringing to the MQTT world, essentially. Because we do love interacting through MQTT, but you do have to do manual work in order to bridge the schema of everybody together. And even though Sparkplug might not be as flexible, it actually provides a framework for us to automatically detect all these sensors right away. I did not have to talk to Opto or inductive automation in order to detect these sensors. Some of the sensors that we're having in there are even provided not even by the virtual factory that was built here. It was provided by inductive automation. They have their own sensors that they're running on here. Right now you see that we've detected 70 sensors just in the past few minutes. But the 2,500 that you saw earlier were basically every sensors that popped up throughout the entire convention. And that's basically the power that you get from just having a proper schema ahead of time. So that's basically just a good demonstration of what the fireside chat was trying to tell you guys earlier.
Back some slides.
Let's go. Yeah, so let's go back to where we started here and thinking about where you are in your digital journey and what you're going to take away from ProveIt. I really want to challenge you to think about, you can't go and take home all 39 vendors and deploy them at once. You're really going to realistically have a chance to do maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 if you've got a bigger team here. But I want you to think about that sort of change management layer. How many different tools are you interested in introducing to your team? If you want to run a pilot and test something, do you have the ability to seamlessly integrate that, or do you have to you have to go and enable that and then teach your folks what's going on? A system like MaintainX, as you just saw, with how easy it is to set up and integrate new sensors and data points, this is going to allow you to seamlessly test all of these tools without having to go through that change management layer by passing them right through MaintainX. They're still going to see the same pane of glass. Your maintenance technicians will still see a work order. They don't need to know where it comes from. All they're going to need to know is what they need to do, how to do it, and what order to do it in. So to answer some of the questions that are part of this ProveIt presentation prompt, folks want to know how long does it take to set this up? 85% of MaintainX's customers are fully up and running in under 3 weeks. And that's about 1 hour of time from one person on your team to actually get up and running after 3 weeks. The long tail of that is not years. The long tail of that is a few more weeks with maybe some more sophisticated integrations. We are really, really fast time to value. I don't think you're going to find anything else like it. And lastly, how much? So this is the money question, right? Everything you saw here today is $20,000. And the way we package that up today is you're going to get our MaintainX Enterprise license. You're going to get an early access program for our MQTT connector for the first year, and our MaintainX Copilot. This is a very quick win that you can take and deploy and immediately test and get results. The time to value with MaintainX is by far faster than anything else you're going to experience in your career. So thank you so much, everyone. We're happy to take some questions. There you go.
All right, we'll put up the QR code again, and as that's coming up, the same question I am asking to everyone. Awesome solution. Let's compare it against an anchor out there, what people would do if they didn't use your solution. The best alternative, and then what makes yours different. I think I got the answer, but I want you to say it.
Well, I think the best alternative, what folks are actually doing is spreadsheets, or they're using pen and paper.
I would say the best alternative, not what they're doing. If they
Sure.
wanted to fix this and they didn't use you, what would they fix it with?
You're probably using a legacy, asset management system, and you're going to struggle to find the flexibility and extensibility to connect to the systems that you all are trying to implement and integrate. The other side of it is if you're coming from greenfield or you don't have a system in place, we're going to get up and running faster than any other solution on the market by an order of magnitude. This is not a 6-month, 12-month project. This is weeks.
Okay. Next question I have before getting these, what data is available through either like your web API or MQTT?
Yeah, so pretty much all those objects that you saw in MaintainX, I know we didn't go through all of them, but as you're creating work orders, assets, locations, parts, purchase orders, that's all available through the web API. So we are an event-driven architecture. So if you want to come via API, webhooks, or MQTT, pretty much all of those objects are available to you.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's go. Our top question, does MaintainX include repair parts inventory management?
Yeah, so I touched on that very briefly in the work order, right? We saw that there were parts attached to the work order. We do have a full parts inventory module as well. So I could have dove one step deeper and clicked into those parts to actually see cost of those parts and number of parts in inventory. And then we have a purchase order module on top of that. So as parts do start to get low, you can trigger a purchase order from MaintainX as well.
Yeah, and feel free to come at the booth. We'll be happy to just show it to you guys.
Yeah, we kind of took a direct path here through the demo, but there's a lot more features we'll be happy to dive through with you guys if you come by the booth.
Do you integrate with SAP or Maximo?
We do. We are an SAP partner, so we can integrate parts inventory information as well as a number of other fields and components. So happy to talk to you about that.
Does MaintainX have a dashboard that shows downtime? If so, can it show a plant level view, department level view, or line level view?
Yeah, so we have a reporting module in MaintainX that you can report on all of the work orders created, completed, time and costs associated with that. And then those asset statuses, whether we're updating them manually or automatically, will drive what we call our asset health dashboard. All of the dashboards are filterable by any field in the, on the assets on the work order. So if you want to drill down to a specific subset of assets, whether it's by type, by business unit, by location, absolutely.
ISA 95 is commonly used to represent assets in a plant in a UNS. How do your customers solve structuring, contextualization, or contextualizing data related to non-production assets?
I'll take this one.
Sure. I mean, look, we have best practices when we're implementing that we recommend to our customers on how to structure their data. Our goal is to work with the client to decide what makes sense to them. If they want to go outside of that, those protocols, we can help them maybe understand why that's not a great idea, but if they want to do it, our system is going to allow them to kind of set it up to whatever meets the needs of their business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the different objects we have in MaintainX, we have locations and assets, and we can pretty closely mimic an ISA 95 structure.
Yeah.
But keeping in mind that we want it to be what the technicians are familiar with. So rather than replicating a naming scheme that's maybe not familiar to them, we'll try to simplify that down while still keeping the ISA 95 structure where you need it.
How does MaintainX perform against an EAM, an enterprise asset maintenance system, like SAP EAM, which also contains IoT connectivity?
I'm glad this came up because this gives me a chance to tweak my answer on my first question, which, the thing that makes MaintainX really special is the mobile platform. The fact that we get the highest user adoption of any of these platforms. And if your folks aren't using the tool, it doesn't matter what tool you have. It's really simple to use. It requires virtually no training. And I think it's hard to say about a lot of the other options on the market.
Does your asset hierarchy pull from the UNS?
Not yet, but we're looking to do that in the next upcoming release. It's still an early access for the MQTT connector, but our overall goal is to be able to tie it all up without having anybody doing straight up management of topics.
All right. Does MaintainX support automated workflows that make it possible for one work order to be processed in sequence by several technicians?
Yeah, so I didn't show the assignee side in the demo today, but you can assign a work order to a group. You can assign it to multiple groups or multiple individuals, so you can have multiple technicians coming in performing different steps in that work order. So in those procedures, the one I showed today was fairly basic. There may be multiple sections in that work order for electricians, for millwrights, for the different trades. So they can all contribute on the same work order. They can track time independently. And we do have quite granular permissions in MaintainX, so we can limit who sees what. Maybe you don't want everybody seeing cost information, for example, so we can be quite flexible on the permission side of that.
And how is MaintainX, maintain little x, different from Tulip?
Yeah. Well, Tulip's an MES. We are not focused on production data. So this is something that you would put in, in tandem with an MES system so that we can pull the contextual information that's relevant and the alerts that come off of a production system and make sure that those alerts can get sent to your maintenance team. And when you think about the you go a step deeper, there's this asset management side where we're really helping develop asset health insights that incorporate everything from parts inventory usage to being able to track the asset health over time and understand things like your mean time to repair and mean time to failure. It's a bit of a different, more of a reliability-oriented take, which is, I think, quite an important distinction to understand as you're looking into these solutions.
Well, then this might be a similar answer, but go into more detail. Why not use a full MOM, Manufacturing Operations Management solution, which has access to relevant production data, asset tooling data, and the ability to push maintenance information to operators?
Yeah, I mean, like, the future of manufacturing, I think, is not going to be a full suite software tool that does everything. And if you try to approach your production, your operations that way, you're going to end up making almost nobody happy. We're really specialized and really good at making software that's perfect for that frontline worker. And we sort of think that future looks like a lot of point solutions that are really great for the teams that need the specialized tools, and abstracting away access to those tools and the need to learn how to use those other tools from the maintenance professionals so that you can enrich the data in these other systems. Probably could have said that a little bit cleaner, but the point is, we're a specialized tool for maintenance professionals and those frontline workers, and I think you're going to find that if you were to put those side by side in front of them, there's going to be a clear winner as far as which one they'd rather use. And when you're trying to get that contextual data from the frontline, you don't want them to be making excuses around putting the data in that you need.
Do you have a free trial? I know the answer to this because discount code Jeff is a free trial for 5 years.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We have you can download our app for free. You can play with it. You can set it up. You can play with all the tools there. Happy to show you more at the booth, but our standard default is a 30-day free trial. We want you to, and you'll find that a lot of tools don't offer that free trial, where they offer you very limited free trials. Part of the reason we're happy to do that is we want to put our money where our mouth is, and we want you to put this in the hands of your technicians. Go find the folks who are the most resistant to technology and see if they can figure it out. You're going to find that, I think, we want you to feel really confident that by the time you're ready to sort of move forward with MaintainX, you don't have to worry about that user adoption component.
I'm going to go to a lower one because it's a further diving into one of the questions we asked. Didn't get the answer he wanted. The MOM answer didn't gel with the demand for connected worker platform that abstract. Moved away. Where'd it go?
I think it said all the latest solutions.
Okay, as long as you know it.
I just saw the tail end before it disappeared.
So answer it.
Can we just repeat it for the audience at the very least?
Come back, put it back in because the question went away.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the next one. If you're running SAP plant maintenance, do you enhance or replace this solution?
You can go either or. So you may have somebody who's really comfortable with plant maintenance and they want to continue to work with it, but we're happy to sort of talk about that a little bit further at our booth and kind of get a better understanding of where you're at. But we integrate one-to-one with SAP, so we're happy to talk about that.
And I'm assuming a question earlier bugged me, getting to the Maximo as well. I didn't think SAP owned Maximo.
They don't.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what confused me.
At least I haven't checked the news today, but maybe.
That's what I didn't think so. So what about the Maximo question from earlier? Because it was SAP, it said like Maximo, and those are two different things.
We don't, well, yeah, I guess Maximo would be a bit redundant. I think Maximo is a little bit overkill for almost every operator out there. And the main reason is that it's really challenging for your frontline folks to use. So if you're not getting good data, it doesn't really matter how many bells and whistles you have. But I think you'll find that we offer a really competitive offering to what you're doing in Maximo. So if that's a solution you're using today, we'd love to chat with you and kind of show you what we got behind the scenes.
I think this is probably in relation to what Walker said. What are the 9 events?
So I think the 3 main events that you're typically getting in the CMMS are when the work order is created, when the work order is started, and when the work order is completed. So the other 6 events are actually the machine state as you're detecting an event, triggering the work order off of that, and then seeing the actual result as you're performing your maintenance. So as you're actually getting assigned the work order, seeing that the technician's starting it, how long it took them to complete it, and then the overall resolution of that as the machine goes back online. Not only closing out the work order, but getting that full contextual history of what the asset's actually doing throughout that maintenance event.
I learned something new there. So now we'll go back to that manufacturing operations management MOM question. Your answer on MOM doesn't gel with the demand for for connected worker platforms that abstract away all the separate solutions.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, we could talk about this in depth. I know we've got a limited time here, but I think the reality is our platform is sort of a CMMS plus in the sense that we do have a lot of connected worker for sort of functionality to it in the sense that we have a lot of clients that are currently running safety inspections on MaintainX. Why? Because when there's a failure or there's an issue with a safety related something safety, it's almost certainly going to get actioned on by a technician. We have folks that are running all sorts of standard operating procedures and things like that on MaintainX. So if my first answer was a little too narrow on maintenance use case, it's mainly for the sake of trying to provide some clarity to the folks here who are maybe more accustomed to the production side, and I want to try to make some distinction on the MES front. But happy to take that offline or off stage and answer that a little bit deeper if that doesn't address it.
How did you map the sensors based on the Sparkplug-B topic in the UNS?
So basically, we created unique IDs depending on the topic that we're receiving the sensors data on. So we don't even need the BERT message, even though it's really nice to create a sensor out of the BERT message. But as long as you see the data flowing through and you're able to create a unique ID specific for that data point, we then map it into our system and just automatically detect it, even if it's the first time we see a new data point coming into the system. And we'll map it to whatever infrastructure that we have behind the scenes. And if you want an even more technical answer on it, just come at the booth and I'll be happy to show you some terminal stuff.
Yeah, so then essentially the area and the node are what we're mapping into the location and the asset on the MaintainX side. So then the rest of the topic is what we call a meter. So what we're mapping into those meters that we can use for automations. Then the kind of front half of the topic is what we're mapping into the different objects for asset and location.
Budget question, can you create a maintenance budget with this software?
Sure. I mean, part of the value of a lot of our clients love about MaintainX is that, a lot of folks on maintenance teams and the reliability teams are saying we don't have enough people, we don't have enough resources. Well, this is a great way to help visualize where is their time going. And it could be that you have a lot of wasted time on inefficient activities that you don't need to do, and you can help them reprioritize their resources and the time they have. Or you can make a great justification to say, actually, everyone's fully loaded with really important work, and we can make a justification for headcount. Beyond the staffing side of it, you've got the ability to track your parts inventory, spend, and understand, when you're making capital planning decisions, which equipment should we replace? We can't replace it all. And a lot of these processes are done in a relatively political way in these plants, where it's, whoever's the squeakiest wheel gets the spend. And so we can help you make more data-driven decisions around how you should think about capital planning and those sort of things. So, yeah.
For the AI Copilot, is this a local large language model or LLM, or is information going out to some connector in regard to supplying confidential equipment specifications for inference?
Well, it's local. So we're running it local on your data, and your data's private to you.
So any manuals you upload into your MaintainX tenants are your manuals. We're not sharing those with other customers. We're not training this on your data. So it's specific to your instance. There's no data sharing there.
Although in that regards, it's local in the cloud. So it's not running locally on any nodes on premise. It's basically just in the cloud, but it's local to your tenant if you're having a subscription in our cloud provider.
Yeah.
All right, last question, guys. We're right at time. Why does this cost the same as a full IIoT platform?
Well, I mean, so for the sake of coming up with a price, we projected that you'd have 10 full MaintainX users. That's sort of how we got to that presentation price. But it's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be dependent on your needs. And I think if we have an opportunity to chat and learn a little bit more about where you are with your requirements, we'll be able to hopefully help build a better picture around the value and go from there. So
awesome.
Meet us at our booth. Happy to answer more questions.
Booth 4.
Yeah.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.